Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode of Books. You nearly caught me coughing. I started coughing, and I was like, I can't stop. I'm your host, Saffron Asteria, and I'm joined today by Rai. Is it Abellana-Palomares?
Abellana-Palomares.
I was so close. In
It's
my head, I was
fine,
trying to
bro.
say it over and over again, and my mouth couldn't make the shapes. But we're here,
It's
Rai.
yes.
Thank you so
Hello.
much for joining me. How you doing?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I am really, really excited to be here. I'm finally gonna talk about the things that I dedicate my life to. So, yay! That's
I'm
gonna be awesome.
so glad that you're able to be here today because I know that I mean, you've been in the Discord for like nearly 2 years now, I think.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah,
That's
and I see
crazy.
your name floating around, and I see you on Twitter and stuff, and I thought
Yeah.
almost time, and it's been
It's almost time and it's here.
it was like 4 months since you booked
Yeah.
this episode or
I
something.
was like 18, I think. You know how
Oh,
crazy that
you've
is?
gained a whole age.
I've gained a whole age and soon two. So I will be 20. I know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being so patient coming on here.
Of course.
I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about your work and to get to know you a little bit better. So,
Yeah.
the first thing that I'm going to ask you is could you tell us a bit about what sorts of things you write?
Okay, so essentially what I write, what I label them now is historically inspired fantasy.
Hmm.
So I write a lot of things about fantasy worlds that's related to the medieval era or are indirectly inspired by the medieval era,
Hmm.
especially around medieval Europe and Africa,
Hmm.
more specifically medieval North Africa, and more specifically in like the Arabic side of things. But that's like from a past project that I don't want to talk about.
Okay.
So yeah, for like reasons that I might get into later, if ever we do get to that point. But yeah. Um, so yeah, a lot of the structure and my world building, it's all inspired by like the architecture of medieval society, you know.
Mhm.
Well, how we're like sort of, and like current project, book three, which is called The Chest of Wealth.
Mhm.
It sort of deals with them having to go to this very Iceland-inspired like setting,
Mhm.
and it deals a lot with death, religion, legacy, all of these like, concepts that I've been really mulling over for the past couple of years. So
Mhm.
I'm very excited, yes, and I'm very proud of myself for having, this whole project of mine finally come to life. And I'm still working on it.
Mhm.
So, and it's like actively ongoing. So, yes.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
And what I noticed, which was fairly unusual, is that
Mhm.
your work is out there for people to read for free,
Yeah.
like whole ass books,
Yes.
which is very cool. So
Yeah.
while I remember, let me put this up on the screen. So we have a
Mhm.
link to Rise website below, and also there's a QR code if you wanted to go find the links for these books that are currently in progress. So I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, book one and
Mhm.
two are on Wattpad, and book three
Yeah.
is on your blog. So
Yeah.
book three, you're about 10 chapters in now.
Yeah, I'm working on the 10th chapter.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I read on your author's note that you'd actually made quite a significant change in the world building from
Hmm.
the first two books to the third book. And you kind of alluded to the fact that you realized that things weren't going to work if you didn't do that thing. Um,
Yeah.
why did you make that choice?
When I was like 13 and I initially constructed like my fantasy world, I was like, okay, so the non-human races are going to have religion, while the humans are not going to have religion. We're going to have purely atheistic societies,
Mhm.
which when I looked back on it and I learned more about like medieval society back then, and if you know anything about the medieval society, essentially the church had a lot of power
Mhm.
and basically everything which is related to the Catholic Church. Um, and a lot of the politics were basically like controlled or were actively helped by the church.
Mhm.
So you can't really separate medieval society from religion. So I
Mhm.
was like, you know what? I'm just gonna retcon a lot of things and add in like a religious system for like the human race
Mhm.
in my world because I want to also commentate on Christianity and
Mhm.
that sort of thing because I think there are also parallels between like um, you know, how medieval culture they treated God. And today we also treat God in like somewhat of a different way, but the echoes of medieval religion are still there, obviously, especially in Catholic and Orthodox tradition.
Mhm.
So I sort of wanted to just comment on, religion how religion affects people, and also how religion sort of influences how one dies, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's it.
So in the third book, is it just the third book that you're exploring themes of death, or is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that definitely plays into the whole what people believe in the afterlife.
Mhm.
So that makes a lot of sense that you would have to make those changes. So in order to do that, so we talked a little bit before the show started, and you are a history student, which is very cool
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
apt for the type of writing that you do. Did you
Yeah.
choose that subject because you're writing? Or is it because you love history? Like, what came first?
Honestly, it was kind of both.
Okay.
I chose like a history major because I was like, you know what, this will probably help with my project. But
Mm,
at the same time, I have like a very genuine like interest in history at the same time. So
mhm,
I felt like it was beneficial for me on both ends because one, I'm gonna finally get like proper experience in historical research,
mhm.
which will, fully it will affect my world building in a very positive way.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
I think if I get things a little too convoluted and like a historical, it's gonna feel a little bit inauthentic to the time period.
Mhm,
Like let's try to work out the methodology,
mhm.
practice it. Let's see how we can read history and like interpret the evidences that we have of the time and like
Mhm.
try to incorporate it in the world building. And also because history is just really fun. It just feels like, like formal gossip, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Really good way of putting it. And if
Yeah.
you had described it that way, I may have been more interested in it. Sarah
Yeah.
makes this point. So you don't choose to study history; it chooses you. Is this
She's
Pokemon?
right.
I'm confused. Uh, it sounds like
Well,
Pokemon to me.
yeah. It goes both ways. It
Yeah,
chooses you and you choose it.
yeah. I had this friend. Well, I still have this friend. He's still alive. But
Okay.
uh, he studied history, and he's absolutely obsessed with books. And he built this
Oh,
he has this like really wide living room, and he built these shelves that literally go from wall to wall, and the shelves are like this thick, and it's just full of
what a
books.
dream. Oh my
And
God.
I love reading as well, and I was like, maybe we could connect with this. And he's like, history stuff, and I'm like, I don't know,
Oh shit. Oh,
interesting.
sorry.
I
You're not gonna like my collection.
no, no. I had a look over it, and there are definitely some things about your writing that I really like, and I'd like to talk about them. So
Yeah.
I love how emotive your writing is, and it's very descriptive. And you share um
Yeah.
your Spotify playlist. No, it's not your playlist. It's like your account where you can see all of the artists and stuff that you like.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some of the
Oh my
artists, and I thought that this all is making sense.
God.
They are
Everything just lines up.
a lot of it's so emotive and so I don't know, reflective and a little bit like pained, and
Oh,
it kind of makes sense. Do you
yeah.
music with your writing in any way? Because I know it's historical, but I didn't see
Absolutely.
anything.
Yes. Dude, you know what's crazy? I actually cannot write well without music in my ears.
Really?
Like I actually need music in order for me to feel confident with my writing. If I write with silence, I'm gonna be like, this feels bad. So I need something that matches the atmosphere of what I'm writing to like immerse myself in the emotion of what I'm trying to portray.
Yeah,
So it's like, sorry,
that's
my
okay.
phone is going off.
That's
So
okay.
it's like I try to, for example, you know what I actually did recently? I was working on my 10th chapter like around yesterday
Mhm.
in my university library. And I was like blasting this like organistrum music. If you know what an organistrum is, it's basically like this medieval droney instrument. It's like the predecessor of the hurdy-gurdy that came in the Renaissance.
Mhm.
So they basically, I was listening to like French Gregorian chants, and then they were just like cranking the organistrum, and I was like, oh my God, I'm really getting into this right now. So, you know, this is really a banger. So I was like, oh, this is so like so accurate for my mood that I'm currently writing.
Mhm.
It's a bit like, it's a bit scary, it's a bit, psychologically intense.
Mhm.
So it's like, and it's also this, I'm currently working on this really like sort of massive religious reckoning scene.
Mm.
So I felt that it was like, really accurate to the scene to like listen to actual medieval Gregorian chants or like a reconstruction of it with an actual medieval instrument because it's like
Mhm.
this is in the world. That's crazy, It's awesome.
Well, that definitely makes sense because I mean, music does all sorts of crazy stuff to your brain, and
Yeah,
it evokes memories, but it also sets a scene, doesn't it? Like if you think about any good films that you've seen, good movies, usually the soundtrack's on point. If it's
exactly.
like a 10 out of 10, the soundtrack is banging. So it makes a
Yeah.
huge difference when you're creating as well as when you're reading. And I'm curious
Mhm.
to know if you're ever going to create like a playlist to go along with your
I
work.
do have one.
You have one,
I
amazing.
have one. Yeah.
Amazing.
It's like it's actually structured as well because like for example, the first song is what I listened to when I wrote the first chapter, and then the second song in the playlist goes with what I wrote in the second one. So it's like you can go through it and you can see like the emotional through line or like the emotional evolution of like each song that I listened to. So it's like,
Hmm.
you know, it's really fun. And sometimes I do listen to it like in like sequentially, like from the first song to the second song, and I'm like, this is exactly what my brain was going through at the time, and it's evolving so beautifully, and it really like makes me think, you know, my project is going really well because like the music that I have listened to
Hmm.
while trying to serve each chapter its purpose,
Hmm.
it really does fit, and there's like an actual like evolution and change in things, and it's like whoa, there's like an actual, it feels like an arc. It's
Yeah,
awesome, and it's really fun to listen back through it.
that's very cool. So
Yeah,
if you go to write and you're not listening to music, you said that it doesn't feel very nice. Do you
yeah.
think that that will improve as you gain confidence as a writer? Is it a confidence thing or is it a your brain's making too much noise thing?
I think both. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to be a little bit too negative on myself in this podcast because this is inherently a very fun space. But I will be honest, there are a lot of moments where I do feel a little bit of self-doubt in my own skills. And I feel like every artist, whether you're a writer or not, has gone through that.
Hmm.
So I think the way that I reckon with the noise that my brain makes, especially in regards to,
Hmm.
like struggles and confidence in my own art,
Hmm.
or just random thoughts that pop in my head where it's like, this is not related to my project. I listen to atmospheric music or
Hmm.
music that would fit, um, the setting that I'm writing about. And I also listen to a lot of, yeah, a lot of like video game OSTs mostly,
That's what I
especially from Skyrim and Baldur's Gate.
oh.
Their soundtracks have really saved me, honestly.
Mm.
Especially, yeah, the Elder Scrolls, like whole series of music that they have.
Hmm.
Very beautiful. I thank Jeremy Soule for everything that he's done, and he has helped me a lot with his like music and my writing. So yeah,
That's very cool. I also like listening to video game music when I write.
yeah,
There's something about the way it's designed. It's designed to make you concentrate on the thing that you're doing and to get you
yeah.
sucked into whatever you're doing. So it's like perfect. It's also good for cleaning
Mhm.
as well.
Yes.
Really good for that.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're too young. Did you ever get to play the Spyro games? Like
Yes.
Dragon games? Okay.
I played like what I forgot which one, but I was obsessed with Spyro when I was like maybe 5.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up playing Spyro, so like
Oh,
the Spyro soundtrack is my like if I ever get depressed, Spyro
oh.
soundtrack. That fixes
I
me.
love that.
I think
I
about when
don't remember a lot of the music that played in Spyro, so
oh,
it's like maybe I have to go back to it.
you should.
I
It's
should.
really good.
Yeah, I have no memories of when I was 5, but I remember that little purple dragon that I loved so much.
I
So
it
yeah.
plays in my head a lot.
Oh,
It plays in my
I
head a lot.
love that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I do
Yeah.
you when you read,
Yeah.
do you ever okay, first question, it's like part 1, part 2. Part 1.
Okay.
Do you like picture the world in your head and do you like read it so you can hear the words in your brain? Or do you just
Yeah.
look at the words and you understand them?
Um, it depends. I think some scenes where like the things that are a bit dull, I
Mhm.
try to like liven them up by like imagining what's happening, but it kind of never works because it's like, okay, this is kind of a dull scene, and like even like imagining it doesn't really help. So you know what? Whatever, it works, and it's but like especially when it's like a very emotionally intense scene or
Mhm.
like maybe the climax of some like really cool narrative,
Mhm.
I can really feel the characters like when I read the words. So
Mhm.
sometimes I do hear the words, sometimes I don't. It kind of just depends on what I'm reading.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
To me,
depends.
to me it depends on the prose. Like if I'm really into a book, I'm like in it. I climb in
Yeah.
pages and I'm like, whoa! I like look at
Yeah.
it, I know what's going on. If
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
engaged with the story, sometimes I'll read it and I'll be like, okay, I know what these words are saying, and I get the plot, but I'm not in
Mm.
it. I've not got
Yeah.
emotionally in any way.
Yeah, I get to that point when I'm at like the middle part of a book, because
Mm,
that's when things like settle in, but also they're moving towards another direction. So it's like, oh, and I feel like middle parts of like books, they kind of always have like a struggling point
hmm
because there's a lot of things that they try to like, fit in from like what they exposited before in the exposition and like the beginning
yeah,
and like how they want to tie up like, loose ends in the ending. So it's like there's a lot of work that has to be done in middle parts that sometimes don't really succeed.
yeah.
But at the same time, I like that they tried their best anyway.
hmm
So I still give it their due, their due credit.
Well, that's it. I will DNF a book. Like I will not read a whole book if I don't like it, because there are so many books out
Oh,
there that I want to read. I can't be wasting my time on ones I don't like. The longest I'll give it is
yeah.
50%. But sometimes
Mm.
I know within the first couple of pages if we're gonna jive. It really depends.
Yeah. Yes. I feel like I felt that way as well with like a lot of the fantasy works that I've recently read.
hmm
I think a lot of I'm gonna mention George R. R. Martin right now. I think a lot of like, especially like Store of Swords, which serves as like one of like my ultimate inspirations. That specific Song of Ice and Fire book, Storm of Swords, so good from beginning to end. It was like pure action, pure politics, and it was so amazing the way he executed it. I need that juice in my brain, like it was literally like so amazing.
I think I need a T-shirt that says "I need that juice in my brain."
I need that juice. I need that juice in my brain.
But we could do notebooks or something. I have not forgotten that there are people here. I just got sucked into a conversation. I just wanted to say hello to everyone that's joined us today so far. For those of you who are lurking in the shadows and not in the chat, I see you. Well, not literally because you're in the shadows, but I know you're here. I'm glad you're here. So we've just had JL Engel join us today. Hello, my friend. How you doing? We've also got HN Reed. I said N. I meant to say M. I'm so sorry. My unofficial marketing friend who basically makes up songs with my name in them. That makes me happy because apparently I like that.
I love that. That's so awesome.
We've also got Sarah Arnu. Yes, I did forget. I'm so sorry. It's sometimes you just get sucked in talking to people. I can't help it. It's a sign of having a good time. And we also have Ellen Holmes, author of The Floating Castle. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, yeah, I know that this is the first time that you are doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I'm very excited that you've chosen to do it with me on Booked.
Yes.
That makes me feel really special.
Of
Makes me feel
course.
really nice. So when you're super famous, remember this episode.
Of course. Well, maybe if I do get super famous, I don't know if that will happen, but
You might.
you
You
know,
never know.
yeah, who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows? I've read some very successful books that I've really hated. So
Oh yeah.
it's really there's no pattern to it whatsoever.
It's really unpredictable, really.
Yeah,
It's all the connections, connections really matter in like industries such as this. So
for sure.
whatever. Yeah.
So, do you read just fantasy-based things, or do you read sort of outside that genre as well?
Yeah, I do read a lot actually because lately I've been on like a philosophy binge. Like I'm currently reading Nausea by Sartre.
Oh, cool.
And just recently, I finished East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and it was like probably one of the wisest books I've ever read.
Is it?
There's so much there's so much like advice in that book that I really took to heart. Like it's not like a super atmospheric book. A lot of like the descriptions that take place, they're very definite. Like, oh yeah, this is where they live and like how their family is, and this is the Salinas Valley and stuff like that.
Mm.
But there's also within like the dialogue, especially between I don't know if you've ever read like East of Eden, but there are two
No.
characters. Yeah, it's okay. Especially between these two characters named Samuel and Lee.
Mhm.
They have such like rich conversations that are so full of like wisdom and like they basically try to interpret like verses in the Bible and then be like, hey, like this is like really cool. There's this concept that I really wanna take to heart Tim Shell, which is like I cannot really pull out the verse right now, but it's sort of, good and evil. It's basically inherent in all of us, and it's basically our choice if we want to act upon it or not. So I'm like,
Mm.
agency, oh my God, agency is awesome, that sort of thing.
Big fan.
And it was, yeah, I'm a big fan of agency.
Yeah.
So reading that, I was like, whoa, this is really rich. This is so like, there's so many good quotes in that book, honestly. Like
Mm.
I highlighted so many quotes from that book. And then I constantly read back on it and I'm like, this is what it feels like to be a human. This is what it feels like to reach the pinnacle of humanity when I read this.
That's,
It's amazing, honestly.
that's very cool. I'm glad you had that experience with
Yeah.
any work, really. Now, I have to go back to you saying that you highlighted something. Are you a highlighter and do you put the little things, the little
Oh,
sticky things?
I do that on like ebooks.
Okay.
I don't really write anything on like physical books because I like to come into things with like the words themselves and I just keep like the interpretation of what they are in my head.
Hmm.
And I also like just keeping the paper clean, like in general. Like I just like keeping my books neat. But I don't mind a little like wear and tear here and there because it's like, oh, that means they were loved. So,
Hmm.
but when I do have like a digital copy of a book because I read East of Eden on like an ebook in an ebook format. And then I was like, okay, there's no paper to ruin, so I can highlight whatever the hell I want. So yeah, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna highlight these quotes because they really, really moved me. And
Mm,
I do keep like a quote of from East of Eden on like my wallpaper and like in like a widget or something.
that's
Because
nice.
I like to read through it, and it's about like perfectionism and how it harms like oneself. And it's like if you're not perfect, then you can be good. And I'm like, I love that.
Nice.
It's amazing.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
it's. I wish more people were able to take inspiration and let it help them with confidence.
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
like, there are so many good, available, accessible pieces of advice from, experts in the community and in the sort of writing sphere, or just like random people. And
Hmm.
my sister-in-law, she has like quotes all over her office when she's having a rough day, and she'll read it. She'll be like, "Okay, that's gonna be okay." And
That's so me.
yeah, I've tried to do that, and I find them a little bit patronizing because I don't like being
Oh,
to do. Like if I want to feel bad, I want to feel bad, and nothing can change that. But I think a lot of people could benefit from using that as a tool to make themselves
yeah.
feel more confident, especially when it comes to creating. Because, I mean, I'm sure you've had days where you think everything I'm doing is terrible. Um,
Yeah. I had a whole month of like feeling that way. And
mm,
like really the only way that I beat it is just I just write again. And
yeah.
then it just makes me feel cool again after that. And it's like, oh my God, I'm an artist. It's like,
Mm,
why was I wallowing in my sorrow? I could just write a few words and be like, oh my God, I'm awesome, because I actually did something this time.
yeah.
That's basically it.
I do wonder if sometimes it's like the tortured artist thing, and a little part of me thinks like, is that helpful? For some people, it is, because sometimes the art that they create is very emotional and very dark, or it helps them to be in that space. But I think in terms of like productivity, it's not a super
It's
helpful to
not.
be.
Yeah.
Um, and sometimes, like when I see people doing it publicly, like getting
Mhm.
tortured publicly, I'm like, I don't know if it's a mindset that some people might think that you have to be in order to create things.
Mm.
I've not really reconciled that in my head, to be honest. Because
Yeah.
I used to be a chef.
Yeah.
One of the things that I read an article years ago, so I'm totally paraphrasing this, but it was about the chef culture and what
Mm.
chefs believe they need to be in order to be successful. And the thought process was that chefs always think that they have to be working 70, 80 hours a week, and that they should never see their families, and all they should do is cook and do nothing else. And and they get their injuries and they work through them, and it doesn't matter if they're bleeding all over the floor, they'll still keep cooking and things like that. And it's just a funny mindset that I think also translates to the writing world as well, is that
Yeah.
everybody's experiences look totally different and their methodology is totally different. That this comparison that I see people making is just a waste of time, because we should be
Yeah.
just doing what we like and what we feel comfortable doing, and what we want to produce. is what we produce. But I don't know. That went
Yeah.
around in a massive circle. I don't know if that made any sense. My brain.
No, it's fine. I like hearing you talk anyway. So you're
Okay.
helping me guide the conversation in a way where I should go. So
As
if I
part
go on a tangent, I don't think I'm gonna be on topic anymore.
Oh, I'm never on topic. You kidding me? That was a tangent. I just
Who
tangented.
cares? It's
Tangentialized? I
fine.
don't think that's a word. I've
Yeah,
made
we're very tangential. I
there
don't
we
know
go.
if that's a word. I think it's the word. Yeah.
I think
Guys, I'm a writer. I don't know my vocabulary.
I think it sounds a bit creepy. Anyway, we're gonna get back onto your work now.
Yeah, let's go back. We're like, okay, let's go. Let's do what we're here for.
I'm now very obviously changing the subject because I have no idea where we're going. So
It's fine.
you're partway through book 3, and I read that you
Mm,
have 6 books planned for this series.
yeah.
Is that still true?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I planned out 6 books
Mhm.
like the moment I was like 13, I think, and I started conceptualizing these things. Because you know the thing about when you're a kid and you're starting out like writing something, you're so inspired by like the greats, you automatically just want to like try to emulate like these authors of like 10 books, like 10 series of like books, you know, that sort of thing. And it's like, oh, I want to do 6 because I don't think anyone has done like a 6-book series before. And then I was like, okay, yeah, sick. We'll do 6 books. And I'm still on that promise to my 13-year-old self that I will write 6 books. And honestly, the fact that I'm already on the 3rd
Mhm.
kind of speaks to like the testament that I think I feel confident most in, because it's like, wow, I'm like halfway through it basically. And it's like, we're halfway to 6 already.
Mm.
So I feel like I'm already getting there. Like I don't see myself backing out anytime soon because I have so many ideas for 4 and 5. By the way,
Mhm.
book 4, I plan for it to be very Byzantine inspired. So we're going to finally see some Orthodoxy and some Greek things, and that's going to be awesome. So
Cool.
I'm really excited to research all of that as well.
Yeah, I
We're
bet.
currently, yeah, we're currently in like a very Norse era of our times right now,
Mhm.
of my life. I'm in a very Norse era in my life right now.
No.
So I'm like researching a lot of things about Scandinavia, their folklore,
Mhm.
paganism, the Christianization of Scandinavia.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, something that I can mention actually. I
Yeah.
wrote a research paper in my first semester about like syncretism of like pagan and Christian traditions together during like the Christianization period, because I was like, I want this to be a resource that I personally wrote for me to actually use in my writing.
That's cool.
So I'm like, it's so awesome when I read back on it, because like it's so full of knowledge that I probably wouldn't have discovered had I not
Mhm.
chosen that research topic in my first semester of my history degree. So I'm very happy about that. And my teacher gave me like a really high score. So that's
Hell
awesome.
yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I love that for myself.
I love that for you too. There aren't many people that are like, yeah, I'm just going to write a research paper, so I've got notes for my book.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote my own research paper for my own writing project, dude. It's crazy. Yeah.
That's good
I still
planning.
love reading back on it, huh?
That's good planning.
Yeah, definitely. I need to do that again. If ever I do like another research paper, I will go back to like, well, I don't think I'll do Norse. Maybe I'll go like do like I'll make a resource for myself regarding like Byzantine stuff for like my next project. So
Mhm.
that'll be sick. Maybe.
Will you publish it on your blog?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. What, my research paper?
Yeah.
Mm,
You said it was good.
it's just like, well, it has my university on it and it has my prof's name in it. So will I be able to share that? I don't think so. But
Maybe.
I can share the content that I found inside it,
Mm,
if ever. So yeah.
there you go. That might be
Yeah.
helpful to somebody. You
I'm
never,
just not gonna put any names on it.
yeah,
I'm
it's
just gonna be
probably
like, this is what I researched. Yeah.
give some anonymity. Um,
Yeah.
just flitting back to I can't even remember what we were talking about. But whatever you're struggling with, Sarah, I'm sorry. What is it? What we were talking about?
Oh, like before the research paper stuff?
Being tortured, maybe?
Oh yeah, the tortured artist thing.
Tortured artist thing, yeah.
You compared it with like your chef experiences too.
Yeah. You got
Yeah.
a better memory than I do. I find that my brain is like an etch a sketch or like a whiteboard. And when I get onto a new
Oh,
subject, I have to wipe everything off that I've just talked about, and then I write the new thing on there. And my brain's like, "What was the other thing?" And there's no trace of it. It's gone. It's disappeared. And
yeah,
yes, that is one of the things that I love. I like making up random words. And my
yes.
husband did this a little while ago. Hopefully, he won't be upset that I've said this. But he kept using this word grandivoire, which isn't a word.
What the hell?
Yeah, but it sounds like the thing he's trying to say, something like really opulent
Yeah.
over the top. And I was like, where are you getting this from? And it was a combination of Gardevoir, which is a Pokemon, and
Oh my God.
grandeur. And so now we use Grandivoire in this house to describe things of opulence and over the topness.
I
Which,
love Pokemon fans, man.
yeah, me too.
Yeah. They're so fun. I don't even know why we're talking about Pokemon fans now, but I know so many people who are Pokemon fans and they're like, I love how they're just so I still get confused as to how they all memorize like every single Pokemon in the world ever. So it's like, you know what? That's a skill that you only have and I don't, and that's awesome, you know?
Yeah. Human Pokedex. It's we love like collecting the cards, but we also like actually playing the card game. That's a lot of fun.
Mm,
I used
yeah.
to play the games as a kid, and we're going to a trading card convention at the
Oh,
weekend. It's the first one that I'm ever going to, and I don't know what I'm going to
that's
do
so
with
cool.
myself. I don't know what I'm going to do.
You're gonna be awesome, that's what.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
See what happens. I'll report back and I'll let you know if it was the cringiest time or if it was great. We don't know.
No, it'll be great, trust me. I am the all-knower.
Are you? Oh goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
You You're going to be my new oracle.
I am your new Oracle, yes, which I do have in my story. There's so many future scenes.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm going to
Yes.
come to you. I'm going to be like, Rai, what's going to happen next Thursday at the vets?
Yeah, I have to look through the juices in my brain, you know. I have that juice in my head. I have that juice in my brain, you know. Not the George juice, but I have my own little juice in my head.
I'm glad that you've got some good juice in that brain because dry
Yeah.
sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, gross.
Mm.
I've always wondered what brains feel like because they look like they'd be squidgy, but also a bit hard.
I think they would feel very wrinkly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think it would feel a little bit disgusting because like I imagine they're kind of wet.
They have
Because
to.
well, they have to be wet, I think. Because they're surrounded by like the fluid in the skull, and
Yeah,
I'm
the
like, oh my
juice.
God. Yeah, that's the juice. What I'm talking about. I have my good juice, right? The brain is surrounded by good juice. When you get the brain out, it'll be wet and it'll be wrinkly. I don't know if it'll feel like skin
Yeah,
or like I don't know.
I
Maybe it's gonna be slippery. Who knows?
I reckon it's definitely sticky. I think it's
Yeah,
probably a bit like mucusy. That's what I imagine. Because like when
yeah,
I've never seen like a real brain exposed, but when you see them on like TV shows or movies, they always look a bit goopy. They're not a drop.
yeah. They always like splat on the ground, you know. If ever someone drops one, and it's like, whoa, that
Yeah.
looks disgusting.
I'd love to know in your lifetime how many times you've seen a movie where someone's dropped a brain on the floor.
I've never. I just imagine that they would go splat because I think they would be slippery and wet enough to do that
I
and
reckon
heavy
it'd be
enough.
like if you dropped a peeled watermelon.
Yeah.
I bet it would make
Oh,
that.
that sounds very slushy then.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
If you could, oh, this is a good question. If you could wash your brain, would you use hot or cold water?
I think room temperature,
Yeah,
body temperature, so it doesn't go to, it doesn't die out too quickly.
yeah. I think if I had
Me
the,
using my limited scientific knowledge.
we're just making it up, but that's what we do.
Yeah, I'm just making up things right now.
We're supposed to. We're creative writers. That's what.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to know anything about science, guys.
Yeah. No, I'm not a doctor, and I don't think you should wash your brain.
Yeah, I don't.
However, if I had to choose between hot or cold, I think I'd have to go with cold because although you might get a brain freeze of some description, if you used hot, it might cook it.
You gotta boil it.
Your brain.
Yeah, and it's gonna like, turn your brain juice into brain steam. And that's not gonna be good.
And then it'll dry off eventually like pasta.
Yeah, and you won't be able to write anymore because you got no more brain juice.
Exactly. And yes,
Yeah.
it probably is very viscous in there. You also don't want to. You don't
Mm.
want to wash off the brain juice.
Yeah, you need that brain juice for like to make good shit, you know?
Exactly. And again, that's another t-shirt opportunity. Juice to do some good shit.
You need just some brain juice to do good shit.
I love that so much, honestly.
I have so much words of wisdom, man. Like I'm actually so smart.
You really
So
are.
much brain juice.
Sarah, you can't ask a question like that and then call me an idiot. That's not very nice.
Oh,
Very nice thing. Look, if I had to wash my brain, then that would be the choice I made. But you just said if we could wash
exactly.
my brain. So we're going with the hypothetical option there.
Exactly, brother.
So
Where did we go?
I don't know where we're going from here. No, I do have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question. It's back to your work again. We're flitting from brain juice and washing brains to your work again.
Yeah.
So you have your work available now for people to go and read at no cost. Do you have intentions of putting them into print in the future? Is that a dream for you?
Yeah, that's actually like my first like big main goal to get them published on paper. Because honestly, for me, I don't think I want them to be published yet because I want to sort of like gradually get myself in the space first of like, published authorhood, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's like I want to maybe submit to like smaller anthologies first and
Mm.
like work on some like short fiction or something like that. Because if anyone knows me in real life, I am not a poet. I am a shit poet, by the way. I am really bad at poetry. And like I am never confident in my poetry, and I don't even like doing poetry in the first place. So it's like I will only ever write fiction, and that's it.
Mm.
So whenever I do submit, or if ever I do submit to an anthology, it will always be fiction because I am not a poet. I am not very good at poetry, but I do love setting a good scene. I love characters.
Mhm.
I love prose. I love prose. Genuinely. Like really the only like bit of writing that I know how to critique is prose. I
Mm.
just love talking about prose, and like prose is like sort of like a make or break thing for me when it comes to books. If
Yeah.
a book has bad prose or like really plain prose that doesn't really like elicit any emotion from me,
Hmm.
I am not gonna read that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am very similar to you in that regard. I think very occasionally a story will supersede the writing. Very occasionally.
Mm,
Because
yes.
I can read a book and correct issues in it if the
Mm,
story is good enough. But it's very rare. It's very, very
yeah.
rare. There has to be something that actually grabs me in the brain juice.
Yeah. And I think the reason why like I make my writing so atmospheric and emotive in the first place is because I just want prose to make me feel something.
Yeah.
That's really the only factor that really makes a book
Hmm.
special to me is if I can feel something in like even like the more minute details that they describe.
Mm.
It's something that I do intend to do. Hopefully I do succeed in that
Mm.
project, but yeah. I do love when people just write prose and descriptions and they try to set like an atmosphere. I just love like atmospheric prose so much.
Yeah.
It sets this like really specific emotion that I really want to try. I'm like practicing myself with that in
Hmm.
my current book. So
That's
I
cool.
love atmospheric prose. It's something that am also very confident in doing it myself. I know I'm very good at atmosphere, which is why in like the ninth chapter when I did like a fight scene,
Hmm.
that was like really the first like shift for me to get out of atmospheric writing and do something a little bit more punchy.
Hmm.
And it was very fun for me, honestly, because okay, I'm gonna mention something that I did when I was 12.
Hmm.
I wrote like my first ever story on Wattpad, and it was like princesses and fairies and dragons and shit like that because I love fantasy. I've always loved fantasy, even when I was a kid.
Hmm.
So I wanted like my first project to be about fantasy,
Hmm.
but like I also really, really admired like the ballsiness of mature fiction.
Hmm.
So so like at the end, I had like this massive fight scene, right, where like the princesses were fucking bleeding and shit, you know? They were bleeding and bruised and they were all fighting, you know? And I was like, I thought that was so metal when I was 12. Then I read back on it when I was like maybe 14 and I was like, this is so bad. So I deleted it. I don't know where it is anymore.
Aw, I was going to
Yeah.
put a link.
No, don't read it. It's so bad. And it's like, but I do love mentioning it because I think when I laugh about it, it makes me feel better about it. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And
but like,
Mhm.
yeah, sorry.
You go ahead. No, you go.
Thank you. And like, when I did like my chapter 9 fight scene, it was like at the very beginning, I think.
Mhm.
It was me sort of trying to reach back into that like fight scene nerd headspace of mine from
Mhm.
like when I was a kid, and like try to be like, okay, let's try to make a fight scene that works, you know? Like how do these characters feel when they fight? What's motivating them to fight? How do their
Mhm.
personalities like influence the way they fight? Or like, culture also shapes the way they fight and that sort of thing. So it's like there's so many
Mhm.
little things that you can really exposit in a fight scene about
Mhm.
like a character, about their setting, about what they believe in, what they're motivated by, you know?
Mhm.
It's a lot of like physical choreography, but that's the physical choreography symbolizes who they are as people and what they
Mhm.
believe in, what they're willing to risk themselves for. And that's awesome.
That is very
And
cool.
there's also blood. So I didn't lose that part of me. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any brains?
Yeah. No, there are no exposed brains, but there are a few wounds.
Okay, that's fine then.
Yeah.
Some kind of juice, but not brain juice. Um,
Yeah.
totally agree with Jeremy. The getting an emotional reaction from your writing is the highest compliment. Um, have you
I
ever
agree.
book that's made you cry?
Me? Read a
Mm.
book that made me cry. Hmm. I'm trying to think. Not really. I don't think so. I've never really cried from a book.
Mhm.
I just get really wowed by one, you know?
Mhm.
It's like this really it's like a very, when you finish reading a book and you're like, this is literally the greatest thing I've ever read in my life.
Mhm.
And it's like this sort of like weird catharsis that you get because I think art is like very important for catharsis as well because we all struggle as people, obviously.
Mm.
And then when you read something that's very relevant to you and your situation, and then it really speaks with you. This speaks to, well, this isn't really about books, but it's more so about like any art form in general. If you're really like engaging yourself with like a piece of like text or like a song or a movie or a TV show that really speaks to you and your experiences as a person, and then you feel that catharsis, that's what's really important, like honestly.
Mm.
So yeah. Wait, I forgot what your original question was. I think I was supposed to build something off of that by saying what I just
If
said.
you've ever read a book that's made you cry, and you did
Oh
answer,
yeah.
you answered it.
Okay, great. Yeah. Catharsis is great for art. And yeah, catharsis is the point of art, honestly, for me. And
Mhm.
community. Catharsis and community.
Mhm.
The two important C's for art.
Yes, and
Yeah.
they are lifeblood.
Yes.
So we are approaching the end of the show.
Oh my goodness.
You know how fast that went by?
Dude, that felt like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what happens. You get sucked into a weird vortex when you're on this show. And
Yeah.
you go, it's been 45 minutes. What the
It's
fuck?
been 45 minutes. That's crazy.
So I always ask the same two questions at the end of every show. But before I do
Hmm.
that, if you have any questions for Rai, please put them in the chat now because it's your last chance. I mean, not ever. I'm sure you can ask her questions in the future. But
Of
it's your last
course.
chance on this show. So the
Q&A.
first of my two questions is,
Mhm.
this is related to you and your writing, is what does success look like to you?
Fulfillment and confidence in myself. I don't really need a lot of like fame or anything. I think the main goal for me right now is to finally feel secure of my skill. Because
Mm,
I think I'm currently in this like phase where it's like I'm not really sure if I'm good or something like that. I don't know if I'm like a super good writer because whenever I do mention that I write to like people that I know in real life, I always like end it by saying, "Oh, I'm not that great. Don't expect too much from it," you know? Like
yeah.
I try to, set like a reasonable expectation for them because if ever they do actually don't like it, then they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, she told me about that," and that's gonna be awesome.
Hmm.
But I do aim for a little bit more self-confidence in myself because whenever I do read back on certain chapters that I've written, I
Hmm.
feel so much pride for like what I've done. And like my favorite chapters that I've actually written in like my third book, chapter 7 and chapter 8,
Hmm.
I think, in my opinion, whenever I read those back, I get so impressed by myself that I actually wonder that did I actually write that? What was I on when I wrote that? Because it's like, chapter 8, if you guys ever get to that point,
Hmm.
it's probably like the most atmospheric chapter that I've ever done. And
Hmm.
of course, honestly, I love atmospheric writing. So whenever I do read that, chapter that I've written. Full of atmosphere, full of like this dread.
Mm.
Yeah. And it's like it feels amazing because it's like sometimes I forget that I even wrote that. And I read it like I'm like a reader and I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. How is this me? You know? And like chapter seven, it's like a lot of like theological yeah, sorry. Chapter seven is full of theological debate.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot about like questioning God
Mm-hmm.
or like questioning like or like, giving metaphors to the crucifix or something, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. I try to symbolize the crucifix into like one of my current characters, one of my favorite characters that I've written right now, Brother Peregrine. I love him so much. One of my favorite characters that I'm currently working on. I was very inspired by the book of Job when I wrote him. So the whole thing about his character questioning God is a direct reference to the
Mm-hmm.
book of Job and how he was basically, you know,
Mm-hmm.
God put trials on his guy and we're gonna try and test his faith, that sort of thing. It's the same thing essentially, but it's more so less about like finding God, but more so about finding who he is outside of the church.
Mm-hmm.
That's who my character is. So that's very beautiful for me personally as someone who doesn't really believe in that stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I do love theology. I
Mm-hmm.
love studying theology. I'm currently taking a theology class
Mm-hmm.
in my uni, and it's one of like my most favorite subjects ever, even though I have like a C. But who cares?
Hey,
You
at least
know?
you're enjoying it, and that's what
I'm
matters.
enjoying it at least, but yeah, that's it. I love writing. I just love atmosphere and I love when you forget about things that you've written in the past and then you go back to it and you're like, this is actually amazing. You know? It's the best thing in the world because it makes you feel like good again, you know? I'm a good writer sometimes.
I'm sure you're a good writer all the times, but your doubt will creep in. And I don't know a single writer in any stage of their career that thinks that they know everything already, because they don't.
No, no one ever does, honestly.
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Ellen Holmes, if I can put that on the screen. So, what have been your challenges as far as an author when it comes to ebooks? Now, you don't have ebooks currently, right? They're
Mm.
on your blog.
They're blogs, but it's
Uh,
okay.
so, I don't know if there's two questions. Okay, what has been rewarding about the experience, and what are your challenges
Mm.
for posting things online?
I think the main challenge that I get right now is like trying to find like people to like actually read them.
Hmm.
Because what's important for me that I've mentioned earlier, catharsis and community. I like building a community with writing.
Hmm.
But the problem is a lot of like the people that I surround myself with, they don't actually like take the time.
Hmm.
Not really take the time. They do take the time. They just cannot find appropriate time for them to write things because everybody is so busy in this world, you know?
Yeah.
We're all going through a lot of things and like no one really has the time to like dedicate themselves to like reading a specific book. I mean, I know a lot of friends who also don't read things. So yeah, it's like the main challenge for me essentially is just like trying to reach people,
Hmm.
especially since I have a relatively small audience. So it's really difficult for me to maybe find some like dedicated readers here and there. But
Hmm.
it's not really that important because, well, I do love community. I just what I do like what I do prioritize the most is like me having fun with it
Hmm.
and me feeling proud of myself at the end of it.
Hmm.
So it's like the community is like a bonus, you know? I just love talking to people about the things I write. Like I have a Substack where whenever I'm burnt out and unmotivated, I just yap about my characters in like an article form.
That's cool.
So yeah, I love that. I just love talking about my world. I love medieval history and I love reading about it. I love my characters. They're very medieval, like they have a very medieval psychology as well, or at least I try to input the medieval psychology into them. You know, it's amazing. I love it. Like even though like despite these challenges of like trying to find people to connect with,
Mm.
um, in like, in terms of my work, as long as I feel proud of myself, then that's really not really too much of a problem for me.
Mm.
Because at the
That's
end of the day, it's me. Yeah.
exactly. And I think the main thing is that you should enjoy what you're doing, because writers put too much time and effort into their work for them to not enjoy it. And there's a big
Mm,
difference between like hating it and doing it anyway and finding it challenging sometimes. And I think as long as you still
yeah.
have deep love for the thing that you're doing, then those challenging things, those challenging periods of time are so minuscule in comparison to the satisfaction that you can get from actually writing that thing. So,
Exactly. There's a huge catharsis in like finishing like a piece as well, because you finally, for me, like personally, when I finally finish something, that's like the only time where I feel super proud of myself.
mm,
It's like this is something that I'm super like this is something I really dedicate like so much of my time to, you know?
Mhm.
So it's like sometimes I feel moments where I publish things and I get really frustrated because like, oh my gosh, I'm not getting like any payback from any of this because it's all free and no one's reading. But it's like that's usually during times when I feel like genuinely frustrated with myself rather than frustrated with the work that I make. I'm never frustrated with the work that I make.
That's
It's more so, yeah, it's more so just like there are times where I feel a little bit impatient and I want things to happen already, but I know things are not really like that, so we just got to keep on trekking, you know?
it.
And it's not really too big of a problem for me at the moment because I am happy with where I am right now. So,
That's good.
yay.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that I know what the answer to this is going to be. But I'm
Mm,
going to ask you anyway.
okay.
If you could go back to when you were 12 and you started writing
Hmm.
and give yourself any advice, what advice would you give?
Read more.
Oh.
Yeah, because like well, yeah, when I was 12, I would basically stick to one genre too much. And I
Mm,
would be like, I would genuinely like really only just read YA fantasy like exclusively because like one, I was 12, so I couldn't really comprehend anything else. But yeah, take the time, try to read more, dedicate more of your time to reading, and then you will finally, you will find that there's so much more than just the world of YA, you know.
hmm
There's so much in like the realm of like philosophy or sci-fi or horror or fantasy.
hmm
And even like literary works that are not really underneath any umbrella of genre fiction. There's so much wisdom to be had,
hmm
especially from like classics, for example. I've learned so many lessons from classics. I love Steinbeck and I love Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, for example. I feel very seen in these works, and eventually, you know, throughout time, my taste will grow.
hmm
She's gonna know that her taste is gonna grow one way or another. But you know what? Yeah, that's really all that matters. Just read more, be diverse in your reading,
hmm
and then see what sticks with you and like try to internalize it and be like, yeah, this is something that I want to do, and then do it
hmm
because that's really all you got, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are not the first author to say to read more widely,
Yes.
reflective advice. And I think that's something that we as writers at any point in our careers should be doing, because there are skills in certain genres that you may miss in terms of experience and portrayal of information. And one of the beautiful things about being in the indie scene is you can do what you want, so you
Yeah.
can extrapolate criteria, not criteria, like there's a word, it's failing me, like identifying features of certain types of storytelling. I can't think of the word.
Yeah.
You can take those and you can use them regardless of the genre you're writing in. So it's incredibly important, and it also can make something groundbreaking rather than just sticking to the same old shit all the time. Uh,
Exactly. And also, like, in regards to that as well, I think ever since I've started reading more diversely, not really
mhm,
diversity, but more so like in more like
more broadly, yeah.
genres at the same, more broadly, yeah. Like it has really influenced like my work so far, like, and
Mm,
it like so much at the same time because like in my current book, it is a fantasy, but it's also historical.
mhm,
It's also somewhat gothic. It's also somewhat horror because they're genuinely like very psychologically intense scenes. There's like not a lot of fighting, but there are fights and there are a lot of talks about death.
mhm,
But there are also a lot of talks about how they want to live out their last few days.
mm.
There's a lot of like, it's sort of words. Oh my God.
It's okay. I
Yeah,
just
the
did it.
book is about thresholds essentially, like these liminal thresholds of like we're sort of in between this major transition period, so it's like
Mhm,
I'm in an unfamiliar place, but also this person is dying and I need to figure out what do they want because they're too sick to communicate. What do they want
mm,
for them, for themselves, like at the end of their days? How should I comfort them? And I want them to be happy when eventually they do pass away
mm,
because that's really what's very important for them. We all try to make sacrifices for the people that we love.
mhm,
And so yeah, it's very somewhat horror inspired. It's also kind of gothic.
mhm,
It's also Also, yeah, medieval, fantastical, and also a lot of mentions of like the sea. So if you like oceans, then check out my work.
Well, if that's not a selling point, I don't know what is.
Yeah, guys, I love oceans and I love birds. By the way, I'm gonna go on a tangent again. I saw a crow on the ledge of my window earlier today,
Did you
and I
make
was
friends?
like, no, but I screamed, and then I was like, oh my god, and then I went to the window, but then it like moved away from me, and I'm like, oh damn it.
Probably because you were screaming at it.
Yeah, I was really excited.
I love
I
crows.
just love crows, man.
They're great.
Yeah, there are many crows in my books as well, many birds.
Nice.
I love using bird symbolism.
Excellent.
Yay.
Very cool. So I just wanted to thank you so much for being here today. I so appreciate your time, and it was very, very lovely to get to know you better. And it was awesome to talk about your work and your inspiration. And to those of you who have joined us live, I don't know if the camera got all shaky, then I just pushed my table. Thank you for joining us live, whether you're here right now or whether you're watching the recording. I'm so glad that you're here. Check out Rai's work. There's no excuse because the link is in the description and there's a QR code there. So I don't know what
Yes.
else you want me to do for you. I can't put it on your
Yeah.
computer. You need to do it yourself. But I strongly encourage you to do so.
Quick reminder though,
Yes.
do not read my first two things. I wrote them when I was 13 and I'm very embarrassed by them. So just read book 3, please.
Go
Thank
read
you.
book 3 on Rai's website. That is what it is.
Guys, my first two works, I wrote them in between like 8th to 10th grade. Let's not, yeah, I need to rewrite those before I show them again, I fear. So yeah.
That's okay.
But yes, book 3 I'm very proud of right now.
Excellent. So go check out book 3. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you have a good rest of the day.
You too, Saffron. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I will catch you guys. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.